the 1960s and 70s and the social progress of the first part of this millennium, Republicans are taking it upon themselves to use any means necessary, whether Democratic or not, to reverse course. Joining us now is Al Franken, former senator from Minnesota, fresh off hosting The Daily Show and hosting the Al Franken podcast. Senator Franken, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here tonight.
Great to be here.
So I'll just ask you, do you like woke or woke-free beer?
Both. It depends which is hoppier.
Which one is?
This is so stupid. And those things will last a day or so or a couple days. But what amazes me are these these states that are passing these 6-week laws, like in Florida, et cetera, and the people don't want it there. And what was interesting is before Dobbs, this was a one party issue. This was the Republicans' issue.
They would vote on it.
They would vote on it. These are one issue people. Now, after Dobbs, there are a lot of one issue people the other way.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe more. And they include Republicans, as you were saying, but also a lot of Democratic young people and women and men. And that's going to be their one issue. And in some cases, it'll be a lot of people's issue.
Yeah.
It'll just be an issue.
Well, it clearly, it's changing the reality of off-year elections and midterm elections, right? The Dobbs has electrified the American public.
But if you think about the next election is not an off-year election, and you're electing senators and you're electing presidents, so you're electing judges.
Yeah.
And if you're electing federal judges, this doesn't play well in Michigan. It doesn't play well in Wisconsin, as we saw in the Supreme Court vote there. It doesn't play well in Minnesota. It doesn't play well in Pennsylvania. This is re-erecting the blue wall.
Yeah, but I get that, right? You're seeing the tangible results of this position that Republicans have staked out for themselves, but it's not dimmed their enthusiasm. That I think is what's so confounding, right? It's really clear that abortion is a terrible issue for Republicans because they're at odds with the American public. And yet today, Ron Desantis, who has aspirations...
He wants the nomination.
They keep doing it. And the reality is there's the political question. There's also the human question. There are people who need access to reproductive choice all over this country who aren't going to get it. There may be people who die in the course of illegal abortions, right?
He wants the nomination. He doesn't care about people.
Actually winning?
No, he doesn't care about people.
Yeah. Well, but is it surprising? There was a day and age when Republicans would look and say, okay, we got to dial it back on this. They are full steam ahead on this instead. And to me, it seems like it coincides with an increasingly aggressive Republican Party that is ready to employ any tactic it wants just to, A, own the libs, cement party power, and sort of stake its primacy culturally, which is very different than sort of tactical strategic game plan that used to dictate a lot of the party's moves.
To me, it's a losing strategy, clearly a losing strategy. And again, they're alienating the people who, didn't really care about abortion that much because they always assumed Roe would not be overturned. Yeah. Well, since it was, that became their issue, the number one issue for a lot of those people. Yeah. And for a lot of other people, it became a big issue. Maybe not their only issue. And it's like guns. Guns is less becoming a single issue where people who really care about their guns are going to vote for guns. There's more and more people are looking at this and going, this is ridiculous. We've got to do something about background checks. Come on.
Do you worry at all, as someone who used to serve in the Senate, that, and again, setting aside the sort of political stakes of all of this, in terms of what all of this increasingly aggressive legislating and anti-democratic maneuvering is doing to the population in terms of, you have folks who may be liberal-leaning Democrats living in red states who increasingly find themselves in a hostile environment. And maybe the inverse is true for people who are conservatives living in blue states. And does it feel to you like we are eventually sorting ourselves into deeper blue and deeper red states because, you know, you look at Kid Rock, who's so incensed over a Bud Light ad that he has to shoot up with a semi-automatic rifle cans of Bud Light. This person does not want to live in New York City, right? In the same way, if you are a trans person that finds yourself in Florida, maybe you're thinking, now's the time to get out. I mean, I just wonder what that does to an American public that increasingly does not share the same values or facts and increasingly the same zip code.
Yeah, we're doing nothing to bring people together. We're just always dividing people, and we are getting more separate. We're living more in our different areas that are red or blue. And this has been happening for quite a while, hasn't it?
Do you think it's getting worse?
Yeah, it seems to be. It does, yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to draw a false equivalence because I don't know that the same aggression, it is not. Like the embrace of anti-democratic tactics.
No, I mean, you don't want to do a false equivalence between crazy shit, well, excuse me, like what happened in Tennessee and kicking those two guys out, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Or like you elect a new Supreme Court justice in Wisconsin and suddenly Republicans in the state legislature are talking about, you know, we could recall her. Mm-hmm. We could recall her before she's sworn in.
Yes, exactly. That's not how democracy works.
Boy, is it not. And it looks kind of like what it is, which is crazy and stupid.
But it's also, it is happening. I mean, it continues to happen.
And in Georgia, where they've been talking about getting rid of Fani Willis, that they could recall her.
Passed a law where they can recall prosecutors.
Yeah.
And we will see what happens down in Georgia if and when she makes a charging decision on Donald Trump and his efforts to subvert the 2020 election. Interesting that subverting democracy is met with a potential plan to subvert democracy.
There's just an escalation in how far gone the Republican Party. I mean, when they call January 6th a legitimate political discourse, I mean, it's close to parody, but it's not, because it's not funny.
Yeah, that is the fact. From one funny person to a not funny person, it is not funny. Al Franken, it's good to see you, sir. Thanks for your time.
You're not funny.
I mean, that's a compliment?
I don't think so.
And we'll leave it there, folks.